interestingly.
Bishop c5.
And then later on, I don't think it makes much sense to look at, like evolution shift after each position. I think h4 was very important. Now I'm noticing the pattern that white can go rook a8 and try to get...
Let me catch up for just a moment.
The position we have on the board.
And he has gone...
Yeah. And he has moved his rook to c2. Now, I like your idea, Miro, of just go rook a8 and then lift up the rook to c3.
I see. So you want to go rook to
checkmating
a8,
ideas.
and then the sudden rover, rook to c3, rook g3. With our rook on a8, that king would be forced to go to the h.
Well, he's lifting his rook. Maybe it needs to,
he's going to go to
beat it back all the way down
d4.
to d4. Okay.
No,
he
played rook to d4, attacking the pawn.
But you can do so by going f3 as well.
Yeah, you can go f3, slide with your king to h2. But it's important to stop the black king from like running out to f8 and e7. You want to keep it boxed in.
You know what? The best move for black here, plain and simple, rook d8.
I was going to say.
Otherwise, you're lost.
Right.
I mean, it's not an easy move to play, and even then, white's winning. But yeah, what a...
And just 20 seconds on the clock for Anish.
So once again, the idea from white's point of view is to go rook to a8, rook to g2 check, force the king over, and then we can bring our rook to g8 and checkmate. King f8.
King f8.
Inviting rook check and rook h8 taking a pawn.
Yeah, that's what you do. You go rook a8, and then if the king returns back, then of course you've achieved what you wanted. If king e7, you go after the h-pawn.
Could you try to trap the rook?
How so?
Okay.
Oh, well.
Somehow...
You want to go king g7 right now?
I want to be able to meet rook takes h5 with king to g7.
Yes, got it. And indeed, in that case, my rook...
Okay, rook a8 played.
And unfortunately for Anish, he's going to have to lose the h-pawn. King g7, king h2, followed by rook g2, and we're just simply checkmating.
Wait a second, but there is kind of way to trap the rook. So after check, king e7, rook h8, you play something, and when the rook takes on h5, you go rook d8.
Yes.
So that's kind of a chance. I'm not saying it's a big chance, but it's kind of a chance.
Okay, so...
well, rook g8.
Rook g8, rook...
You go rook g2, and I go king f8. Right. So that was the big plan.
Rook to h7, rook to d2, rook to g2.
Yeah. White's probably winning.
And I think I'll get my pawn to h6 on a good day. Let me just refresh the board, sorry for doing that, but the clock times, I know it's a decisive advantage. Whoa.
But he just throws in a check. I think this is good strategy.
You
always want to repeat twice, make your opponent think that they're within the grasps of the draw before you cruelly take it away from them.
Wait a second. How about rook d7? Or you win anyway.
Okay, king f8.
King f8, okay.
Okay, you're raising an important question, though. Should white be trying to trade off the rook? With the pawn on h4, I would say no. With the pawn on h2, maybe yes. You know, if we just take the rooks off the board.
Okay, he doesn't go rook a8, instead king g3.
Okay, he's still got rook g2 in his pocket, so he can always bring his rook to the g file. And can't I checkmate that way? You know, put my rook on g2, put my rook here, king here, and then bring my other rook. So I got rook g8 and rook a8, and try to...
The king can always run away to d6.
suspect
So
you're right.
A4.
Ooh,
That's
that's a
good
big
move.
commitment.
It's a good move. I mean, I don't care about the objective evaluation. You were lost and you are lost. But
So might
like,
as
you know,
well-
to play on Prague's nerves, when he's going after h5 pawn, the pawn will be on a3 already. Like, you know, that's a good practical decision.
You always want to be plain old ornery. If you're going to lose, you want to go down kicking, screaming, biting, clawing, fighting as best you can.
No,
Good advice.
seriously, that must be not a bad move.
Well, let's take a pause from this game and go to Bucharest, where we have Christian with a very happy Fabiano.
On A3, Miro. At the time, you were saying, you know, it's irksome that our opponent isn't.
Yeah.
But now we're thinking that there could be a Zugzwang where this pawn. How do you see?
There could be, but again, it's on you to demonstrate,
Okay,
right?
so what we want to do, it will demonstrate. Our Jovi's idea, and I've been discussing it with her, is just to bring our rook in.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's say bishop goes back to c5.
Absolutely.
And the rook is mobilizing.
The bishop goes back to c5, and here we come.
Well, yeah, but
we're going
now
checkmate.
it feels like you are not that close to the checkmating part, and so I could potentially consider rook d3. That's what I'm saying.
Rook d3 or rook d2?
d3 maybe,
Okay.
and rook a4, right?
Yes.
Well, rook c4, in
Rook
fact,
c4,
played.
we are analyzing.
We can actually just follow the game position because it is the
'Cause
decision
rook
that
d3
Anish
now
will
comes.
have to be making. Should the rook go to d3? Should the rook go to d2?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Indeed, Anish has under 1 minute on the clock.
I've got a great
to take
idea
that decision,
for checkmate. So you put your rook on d2, you go bishop to e3, bishop to f4,
Yeah.
and rook h2 mate.
Yeah.
Shall we have a look-see?
Okay, well, Anish
Rook.
goes rook a8.
Okay, that was designed
Stops rook
to
a4.
stop
Yeah.
rook a4.
Nice.
Okay,
Okay, well, now it's time to maybe mobilize the white king.
king can...
The king is not working there on h3.
I'm wondering, is it important to take the d file for some strange reasons too? I understand what you're saying. You can put your king, for example, back on e2, where we kind of cover some business squares.
Yep.
That makes sense to me.
And
Rook to d7, rook to
rook
b7.
b7.
Okay, also a good temporizing move. Just saying, your bishop can't move. If your bishop moves, you open the gate, and I jump to the c7 square, so no bishop moves. Can you make rook moves?
To a5.
And then I might figure out some way of... No, if you play rook to a5, I can figure out some ways of playing... Oh, sorry, that was a mouse slip. I wanted to bring my rook here and maybe check. Remember, we got some positions where the rook was invading nonetheless to
But yeah,
g2.
let's look at rook b5, let's say.
Rook to b5.
Rook to b5, or all in, sort of. And king
15
to e7.
seconds on the clock. And Anish doesn't want to make anything
Okay.
committal. So he steps his king towards the center, and there you see Praggnanandha quickly mobilizing the king. I think it's a good idea to put the king on e2.
I do too. Actually,
Cover the squares.
I didn't like my king on h3 because there was a checkmate pattern that I saw with the bishop on...
being on f4 and
and
the
it's-
rook being on d2.
Whenever I see a line that I could potentially lose, I go, uh-oh, king
Yeah.
f8. We're expecting king f1, king e2, just improving the position so that if black's rook ever did get back to the d file, with our king on e2, we're covering all the business squares. So king f1, king e2. Prague has been playing pretty quickly, keeping the pressure on his opponent's clock. How does the engine evaluate this current position, Miro?
Plus a lot.
Plus a lot.
Plus 2.5, plus
So-
3. It fluctuates, but
Does it come up with a clear plan for white?
not
Because
really,
sometimes-
because you would think we found a clear plan, and one of the moves is king to f1. But king h3 apparently is just as good, and we've just been there.
You're right.
So,
Okay. But overall, how is white getting this rook across the equator and into black's camp? The rook on c4 needs to find a
Right,
path.
because that's exactly what Anish is saying. He's got a fortress. He's not going to be budging from going king f8, king e8.
Yeah, I like the idea of making a walk, to a king walk to the b3 square.
Actually, yeah, exactly. How far can the king go? Should the king go up to b5 if allowed?
That would be a good. and
Okay,
he's
king
played
f1.
king
That's
Okay,
what he's
well, one
trying, yeah.
thing is for sure, the white king will be traveling on those light squares.
You bet. You bet.
You can park the rook on c2.
Half package will travel. Yeah, I like that too. Although I must say, the rook on c4, keeping an eye on the a file, keeps black's rook
Honest, yeah.
tethered to the a file. You can't move the rook and allow rook a4. So,
Okay, rook
a5.
a5.
So once again, we're anticipating king e2, king d3. Anytime this bishop moves rook to c7 is checkmate. So that bishop cannot move. So we don't have to worry about the bishop coming to f2 on any occasion, so long as our rook can jump to the c file. So king e2, good move by Pragg.
And now, for Anish, it is just to hold the pattern, right?
Yeah,
just
but-
hold the 8th rank.
But like Daniel Diak, it's just such a tough, to do nothing, just to hold.
Right.
Rook a8.
Absolutely tough decision there for Anish, because there will come a moment where he will not be able to move.
And you want to play something active, and it simply won't be there. Rook on a8, rook on a5 back to a8. With a victory, we would have two Indian youngsters tied for second,
We
right?
would have the two youngest in the competition
Wow.
tying for second if
Right.
that happens.
The professors versus the youths. The youths
The youths are doing well.
will be doing very well. Although, Bobby, dare I say my pick? I don't want to say that. No, that's not nice. That's not.
A little bit of healthy competition, yeah,
A
but
healthy-
it's fine. And that decision time for Praggnanandha. What's his next step?
King d3. You mentioned, do I want to go all the way to b5? And I might answer that question with a resounding yes. The
You
king
might
look-
as well, right? It
Right,
looked
the
good
king
there.
looks really perfect. And I do like the rook back on c2 in those cases where my king is nicely on the b5 square.
Do you think we'll ever see a scenario where white will return the exchange in order to win all the queenside pawns? Not necessary.
Yeah, well, it's not outside of the realm, of possibility. If we imagine the white king on c4, I take the bishop and I take the pawn on a3. Yeah.
And as you can see, 16 seconds, and it's ticking down. Actually,
Well,
12, 10, 9.
Really going under rook
Throwing
d8.
in a check.
Okay, so we're anticipating king
King C2.
c2.
Quick move there from Pragg.
By the way,
And now
really
rook
keeping the pressure.
A4. Now a big threat.
Huge threat.
He
Rook
moves the
A4.
king.
Oh, wow. Okay, so now it's a new line of defense. He's intending to meet
you
rook
know.
a4 with rook f8.
I think
don't
maybe
know.
he
Tell me
was
what.
forced to do this because Pragg's plan was actually to go king to b3, rook a4, and then double on the 7th.
Except I would trade rooks and play bishop f2 in that case. And remind you, well, then you
Well,
might play king b.
exactly. I'm going to take your a pawn and then your b pawn,
Yep.
and the rook is
Yeah,
a lot
I
more
was thinking
mightier than
the-
the bishop.
Well, I was hoping
is-
the h4 pawn
Well, this
would-
is why think
Yes.
that a5, this whole pawn advance to a3,
Might be wrong.
might have been very, very tempting, but
But-
made white's life easier.
Well, first of all, because you allowed what we're about to see, rook a4 to a7, if we imagine the pawn was still back on a5, at least that possibility would not exist. But, okay, once again, jump in on this one, Miro. We're going to go rook a4, rook a7, and black is going to park his rook on f8 and thumb
Okay.
his nose at us.
Let me tell you that after rook a4, bishop f2,
Yes.
white might be still winning, but the valuation drops so almost like below 2. It was +3.
Okay.
So say you take a3, black captures h4,
Yes.
you take b6, bishop f2, and then all of a sudden the h-pawn becomes a factor because your
That's-
king is cut off on the d file.
Could you try to be a bit more
course.
sophisticated
Of
or subtle
course.
about it? And instead of taking on b6,
Yep.
go rook a7.
Go rook a7, yes, you could, but then rook f8, and believe it or not, but it's below 1. So
Wow.
the 0.80 in white's favor.
Right.
Okay.
So all
By
of a
the
sudden,
way-
this passive setup with the rook on f8,
No
worked.
rook a4 from Prague. He played the rook c3 move, and I'm sure that was intended, that his intention was to meet bishop f2 with rook on c3 to c7. Nonetheless, I think bishop f2
bishop f2 has
kind
to
of
be played.
required,
Yeah, okay, 10 seconds for Anish.
and Anish hesitated.
He's reaching for the rook. Okay, and he, wow.
Wow.
At
Made
the
that
last
with,
minute, last seconds.
how much seconds did he make that?
2
2
seconds.
seconds.
That's what I
Seconds on
thought.
Changed his mind.
He was going to
and
go
went
rook
bishop
f8.
f2.
But I love this move, bishop f2. It's crying to be played. It's his only chance of counterplay. Take the pawn and use your h-pawn.
Yeah, and also there's one more factor. You take h4 and then your king might be liberated one day.
more
And then you run
checkmates.
into a 4. Okay, that's kind of a fairy tale scenario. But
Right. Okay, Prague had his king on e2, and it was preventing bishop f2. I think he needed to maintain that stance a little bit, because now I don't know, doubts are beginning to creep in. Can Anish save this position? That would be Houdini-like.
It would be. But on the other hand, what's the winning move for white? Is it to go rook c7? Or would that be a mistake?
Oh, it's to take, I guess. And again, I mean, it's very strange.
Rook
It's
takes a3.
Take on a3. Yes, let's use your
Yes,
board. Yeah, it's to
take
take
on
on
h4.
h4, and then computer recommends
Not
rook
to-
d3 over other stuff not
So
to
that the
take.
king can get
It's
in the
Over to
election.
the queen's. Yeah.
kind of counterintuitive. I don't know why this move and not something else.
Rook
We
c7
do.
Okay,
played.
rook c7.
And I'm sure he played the move rook c3 to play this move rook
Yep.
c7. Rook f8 forced.
Then you go rook f8.
There's
Yeah.
nothing to think about here, Anish.
Anish. Yeah.
Okay, rook
Rook
f8
h8,
played.
rook f8.
And king d3.
King d3.
Now Prague is realizing that his king, a moment ago his king was on h3,
Okay.
and he's bringing his king back to h3. King comes to e2, bishop to g3, king to f1, h4, king to g2. That's on Prague's agenda, and Prague is hoping that he'll be able to pick up the b6 pawn, and at his leisure pick up the a3 pawn. And if he gets that with his king on h3, he's winning. I think. Miro, back me up on that. You get your king to h3.
I don't understand anything, honestly, even with the help of an engine, because the valuation jumps, and there are like some really crazy subtleties. Say after king e2, bishop g3 or bishop g5.
Right.
Say bishop g. Where do we want to go? g5.
Bishop
Bishop
g5.
g5.
The bishop is
g5.
anchored.
King f1. Right.
King f1.
Why?
I don't understand where the king's going. White king in computer lines goes to
10
h3.
seconds,
seconds.
8 seconds.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, bishop
G3 just as good or just as bad as the bishop G5. They were with the same
and
relation.
king F1.
Right.
King F1. Now, in Prague's mind, and I understand his concept, he's thinking, I'll put my king on G2, I'll capture this pawn, your bishop can't move, and I'll go rook back to B7, and I'll pick up this pawn at my leisure. 13 seconds. And Anish is living on his increments.
Yeah, 7 seconds. 4.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. And
3,
he doesn't look like he's
2.
reaching for... Oh!
Played with 1
Good.
second on the clock.
And-
H4.
And that pawn is somewhere between H4 and H3. He
King
did it with
G2
1
quickly
second.
played
That was
by
dramatic.
Praggnanandha.
Very, very
That was
dramatic. Okay, so we're going backwards now. I think if I'm in Anish's shoes, I'm playing bishop F4, and I'm playing bishop to E, and through the magic of
Whilst Pragg
replay.
is thinking, we can see that
television
moment
of
where
1
Anish
second.
made that move with 1 second left on the clock.
A little bit of a wobble there on the
Oh.
release of the pawn. Wow, that was
This is
nerves.
nerve-wracking, right?
Yeah.
And
One
this
second.
game is
Bang.
keeping us on the edge of our seats. Will Anish have a fortress?
Bishop
Will Pragg
E3.
be able to take this one?
Okay.
Bishop E3.
So, I think this pawn, it was more important to defend the B6 pawn than the H4 pawn. In other words, you could have gone bishop to G5 and sat with your king back and forth, but at a certain moment you're losing this pawn, and eventually you're going to lose A3. So by at least holding on to the B6 pawn,
Yeah,
You've
he's
got
going to grab the
chances?
H pawn.
yes,
He's going to just grab that one and then run with the king
to where?
to the queen side.
But
Okay.
can someone please explain me what's your winning plan? If the bishop stays on C5, the rook stays on
Yes.
F8, so I'm as passive as it gets, and I'm shuffling the king, G8, G7. So
Well, Joe,
you'll have to
Well,
win.
my plan was simply to,
Put your king on B5.
take the pawn on H4. That's like a given.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
And then,
Bring your king to B3 or B5.
yeah.
And Black's king will be waiting
And at
on
some
G8.
point, one has to go rook
The
takes
rook
bishop.
endgame. Oh, no.
No.
It might be winning, but it'll never going to be.
No. Here's the winning plan. So you take the H pawn, you put the king on B5. The black bishop will be on C5. The black king will be on G8. And then I'll go rook to D2 to G2 check. Ooh.
But as soon as you go rook D2,
Yeah.
the black rook is out.
But I'll get and my king will be on B5, and I'll have a
Well,
rook.
you know, he's
rook-
going for rook D7, sorry.
He went
Maybe.
rook D7. Okay. He didn't take the pawn on H4. That's a surprise decision.
Well, 17 seconds. Maybe this is why he's doing it, just to make Anish think.
10 seconds.
8 seconds. 7 seconds.
You got to put your bishop back on C5 and just do your best to hold. But here I was thinking king takes H4, and you can see what my intention is to put my rook on G2. Like I go king takes H4, and I magically, what did you call it? Teletransport?
Teleport.
Teleport my rook to G2 check at a certain moment when you won't be able to defend against the invasion of my rooks.
Yeah.
By the way, as we've been counting down the seconds, and I know Prague has been playing quickly, how's his clock?
Well, Pragg is around
Handling
about
his-
4 minutes and 21 seconds.
He had 8, I think, when he
But-
started this.
But the thing is, in this position, the onus is on Pragg to find the winning
Clear.
plan. It's very clear that Anish is just going to be
Make a
shuffling the
fortress.
pieces
Yep.
and reacting to whatever threat Pragg creates.
So we can imagine bishop
Okay,
check.
Anish
By the way,
keeping us on the edge of our seats
3
because 3
seconds?
seconds. Wow.
Yeah, why
Rook
don't
H8 check.
why don't you play bishop f2 check and bishop c5
Okay, Rook
and gain
F8.
a minute? Okay, he's back on schedule now.
And he's back to the minute mark.
Yes.
I have a winning plan, if I may.
Please.
So get the king to b7 and go rook c7 to c8, and just trade the rooks. Can this be right?
Yeah, that would be good.
That makes a good. So put the rook on c7, put the king.
It's a very long
B7.
plan, and
But you have all the time in the world.
Exactly.
Although there is the issue that if you run away with your king far enough.
Well, I do like very, very much
King.
the suggestion of putting the king all the way up the board.
He's going in that direction. So my question was,
Yes.
is it possible for black to run with their king at the right time? So say the white king is out there on a6.
Right. And hoping to get your own counterplay.
Right.
The problem is I see it, once you lose f7, you don't go to you don't leave g5. But you're right, you've got to do something.
Yeah.
You've got to do something. You can't just allow Miro's plan of the king running to b7 for free.
Well,
Still something to say about this fortress here. I'm just curious with the king if he had put his king on g4 and forced the bishop to go to c5, we might get the plan of moving to the king side.
well, Anish
f4
has only 10 seconds
And
to make a
bishop to
move,
d4.
and he moves his bishop to d4
calmly.
very calmly. And now the white king starts marching.
Okay, the king walk up the board, either to b5 or b3, and then we're thinking to play rook g2 check, and or to try to force the trade of rooks on the 8th rank with our king on b7. And again, we're seeing, wow, Anish is going down underneath
There's
5
really
seconds.
nothing that he can do other than moving the bishop.
Exactly.
King now will creep up to d3, soon on to c4.
Now, what you were saying, Jovi, is once the king really leaves the vicinity of the f3 pawn, you start to think, okay, I've got my only chance with the king on a6, let's say,
Yeah.
to go to f4. That's it. I'm going to play my last trump. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Which makes me think that I ought to have a setup where I force you to play king to g8. I'll put a rook on a7, so
to
your
make
bishop...
sure it's a Zugzwang.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. To make sure
Yeah,
that
it
it's
might
a
be
Zugzwang.
impossible for black to even have this.
That's
Because-
what I'm thinking.
But can't the bishop just shuffle between c5 and d4?
Yes, but then
Then
you're not
A3.
playing a3 is the point that the pawn on a3 would hang if your bishop
Yeah.
leaves c5.
We'll see.
Well,
So
Pragg,
Pragg-
5
minutes.
minutes for Pragg. Plenty of time. It is
Maybe he's
Anish
considering that
that's in
possibility,
trouble.
by the way. I still like your very direct method of king to c4 to b5 and to threaten to trade rooks on c8. I mean, I think I'm just winning that rook takes f7 variation. So once again, what we're looking at is king coming to c4 and to b5, and then we'll put our rook on, so let's say c7, and go king to c6 to b7. And he's done it, king c4.
Rook c8 check.
Rook c8 check.
Hang on a second. Is
Yeah.
that right? Because you go king b3.
That's what I'm thinking. Why did he lose his a pawn?
Wait a second. King
King
b3,
b3?
he's going to go
He's going to
check.
go rook c3.
He's going to go check c3. And
And-
after king, whatever it goes before, he's going to go king g5, king
Okay.
F4.
h6, king g5, go all in pretty much, yeah.
Right. So maybe I should just play rook to c7 after
Yeah,
all.
rook b to c7 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and you have to go back to f8 in this case. This is quite the ending, Jovi. I mean, by no means trivial, and lots of fortress type of positions that Prague is having to break down.
And a lot of nuance as well, because Anish is trying to find all the resources he can, and under a minute on the clock. He's taking some time. Is he pondering whether he can grab the rook?
Maybe grabbing the rook with the idea of playing king to g.
h6, g5,
G5
and breaking out. Because if you just passively hold defense with rook f8,
Yeah. That's the well.
okay,
he's-
he
he's
goes for that method.
7 seconds. He played his move with 7 seconds on his clock. Okay, so once again we've been looking at the plan of king b5.
This is the king d5 as well. You're spoiled
Yeah.
for choice how you're going to get to.
Somehow, attacking the pawn on b6 and forcing the bishop to nurse the pawn.
Because I'm thinking if the king steps to d5,
Yes,
there is no check.
correct.
And then, okay, he goes to b5. And then the plan was to go rook a7, ensuring that there's no bishop waiting move.
Right, right, and then you have to play king to g8 in those cases. I think reaching for his king is
King g8.
king g8. Okay, king g8. So we're closing in on your plan, Miro, of playing rook king to a6 to b7 and rook c8. But how about that old standby idea of rook to c2 to g2, trying to get the
Possible as well.
yeah. How does the engine?
Yes,
like-
forget the engine. I mean,
Forget the engine?
Yeah, it
It's
passed
not-
that point when it was interesting, plus a lot.
Yeah,
But-
but,
but
it
stays-
doesn't come up with a plan.
Exactly. It states that white's winning, white's winning, white's winning.
But it
and,
doesn't show you-
At some point, it was just shuffling around
Somewhere.
with the king.
Somewhere on the horizon, it spots a win. Yeah.
I see. So
I do like rook c2, rook g2 idea.
you do or do not?
Yeah, I do.
You do.
Rook
Okay.
c2.
Okay.
You know what? Rook a8 is what engine plays. And then after this check, it'll go king f8 again.
Of course. Of course.
Right, so it'll be...
So we can park our king on b7 and then perhaps play rook c2?
I like it.
So then the rook doesn't
The
have...
rook doesn't have any active squares.
Right. Spoiled for choice, I think
It is
what you said.
certainly spoiled for choice. I'm expecting king c6.
Prague using all of his time too, as his time's ticking down, isn't it, Jody?
It is ticking down, but he still has loads. 2 minutes and 33 seconds. And do remember that Prague is of the generation where he's playing online chess all the time.
So yeah.
He's used to playing moves with just seconds left on the clock.
For me, I mean, the space-time continuum spins out of control whenever I'm under 5 minutes. I swear the clock is ticking 3 times faster than the usual time.
I'm
Those
with
seconds
you.
just whisk.
Do you know what happens to
Away.
me? Yes, Miro. I spend a lot of energy looking at the clock
As well.
rather than looking at the board.
Rook
Okay, rook
A7.
A7. This forces the bishop to return to C5.
And again, we're kind of closing in on that
Rook
B7.
B7.
So
B7.
still looking at the possibility of
What's that about?
King, maybe
G7?
just the art of confusion,
Triangulation with the rook.
Dominations, yes.
right? Okay, king,
yeah.
C6.
King to C6.
Is now the time? King H6? No.
But it's not running anywhere, right?
Well,
King H6, just right. King H6 takes on F7, and what's
Where-
even the next move is?
well, I was trying
Takes.
to munch.
But wait a second.
You can go king to D5.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you go king to D5 and I go here with the idea of
King to E6. Now, well, actually, in this particular case, F4 wins on the spot
ooh, good
instead
point.
of King E6.
Good
Yeah.
point. No,
King to D5.
we're going to call that the March of the Lemmings.
And the bishop returns to E3.
Okay. So we have been talking about an idea based on rook to C7 and king to B7.
Also
rook
wondering whether
to C8.
rook C7
Yeah.
and the king comes to D7 with the same idea.
Okay, so I like that one too. Rook to C7 and the king goes to D7 with an idea of, and not allowing B5. That's important. Never give your opponent options of active play. I like rook D7, C7 and king D7, rook C8. How about you, Miro?
Anything.
Anything.
Just trade the rooks. Trade the rooks, win the game.
Hurry. Hurry.
It's simple.
Simple chess.
Simple
Yeah.
chess.
Keep it simple.
Once again, at this weird moment where engine's variation is through the roof, but it's all similar in all three lines, and it doesn't demonstrate any clear path.
Despite having informed
Yeah.
us of our great impending victory, it doesn't tell us how.
So again, the big question is, but what stops him from playing any of the rooks to C7? Let me put it this way.
I had no idea.
So rook C7, do you see
And
a
now-
move even?
Pragg is the one with slightly less time on the clock
How
than Anish.
interesting.
Now ticking down to 1 minute and 30 seconds.
By the way-
And he does put his rook on C7.
With the intention of king to D7, and furthermore with the intention of rook to C8,
Okay, but look, if we move the bishop, no surprise here.
which is what Anish is reaching for.
I suspect as well, bishop D4. I was wondering, rook A7.
Rook A7, bishop C5, yeah? Rook A7. I don't want to see a clip a pawn for free. I would play bishop to C5. Now here the question is, once again, we've been looking at these active moves after king D7, king H6. Okay, you are telling me Prague is now for the first time in the game behind on the
Yes, just 1 minute and 27 seconds. King D7.
That
I
was
think
the
that's
most
the moment
direct.
you move the rook, no? Can you move black rook somewhere?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was looking at this one. Rook to H8, rook to C8,
Then go to H2.
king E8
You
with
can,
the idea of rook takes.
can you put, no, Robert, there's a checkmating net that's on the 8th rank. You have rook C8, rook G8, and if the rook moves, you've got rook H8.
So here,
Oh, Anish went king
Here.
H6, which
here,
Yeah, so say the rook
Seems like a-
takes the pawn on A,
2,
you go rook H8.
and that's our well-trodden checkmate. Nice, good spot, Jovi. King G7,
Okay, now the black king makes its bid for freedom.
right? Rook c8, rook takes c8, king takes c8. Now, I don't want to go back and I will lose to king to d8 to e8. So
you go to g5.
Go up the board, you take the pawn.
And you go b5, I guess.
Correct.
And that's one of the unluckiest placements for the king, I have to say.
Right, so can I go with my king? You got to go king
f4.
And now king.
Here?
Yes.
King takes, king takes, king takes.
King takes f7, and now king takes f6. And could you go the other direction with the king? And try, just hope that the bishop will hold off. Okay, and rook c8 being played.
He played rook c8. This might be the winning move. King to g5. Don't take the pawn on f7. Don't allow b5. That would let Anish escape.
Right. So.
Oh, you know, we don't have to take f6, f7.
All we have to do is to go d7, c6, d5.
Yeah, not to lose the e4 pawn. That's the ticket. King to d7, king to
c6,
f4, king to c6, king takes, and we can munch these pawns at our leisure. That I like. That's the most convincing mirror. That makes sense.
Can we show what happens if you grab the pawn on f7? Because I'm sure a lot of us would just
want to do
that, right?
But then you have to suddenly, whoa, b5, b3.
And
he's done it.
d7.
Pragg, despite his time shortage. I told you guys, he's accurate. He's an accurate. Look at your statistic.
He's my pick for the event.
Look at your statistics, everybody. King to d7.
King to d7.
King to d7.
I wasn't the only one that chose Pragg.
Oh, really? You had company?
Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh.
I was an influencer, and actually VAR chose him too. And there we see Anish reaching for the king. And
key moment.
No,
yes.
King c6.
Wow, what accurate play by Pragg. He's done it. King to d5. He navigated some very tricky.
And the move, the move king c6, it's a man of a culture, right?
Not
king
to go
d6
on dark squares.
achieves the same, but not to go on dark squares with the opponent having the dark square bishop.
Exactly. Cultured gentleman. King to d5. Okay. Nice. Now, unfortunately for Anish's fans, this rook, once it takes f6, the f pawn is just right up the board.
Shall we show what happens if the king just dashes back to g4, rook takes f7, and now the king goes to g5? Well, unfortunately, that doesn't solve anything because as Yas is demonstrating, the rook just comes to g6.
By the way, I mean, this is why we call the rook a major piece and why we call the bishop a minor piece. In these endings, the major pieces dominate the minor pieces, and we're seeing just exactly why the rook is so much more powerful than the bishop in this ending. King d5 on the board. We're expecting, well, what can Anish do? Trying to make a beeline to the a pawn is unfortunately just far too slow. You're there. Bishop b2.
Bishop b2, yes, but there's f6.
And that's what I'm saying. The f pawn is so fast. Not even close on this one, and that will be all she wrote. So that is it. King to d5, and Anish recognizing that he's now at the end of the game. By the way, is this our remaining game?
This is our last remaining game. There's been 3 draws, a victory for Fabi.
That's right.
And now Pragg about to secure his first victory.
And with this win, once again...
And there we see it. What a game from Praggnanandha.
He will join Gukesh in a tie for second. You were telling us about this big tie for third place from third to eighth. Now suddenly we're seeing a little separation.
We are seeing some separation.
Exactly, as the two players discuss this ending. Impressive victory. Impressive victory.
Absolutely.